My dumb ass set up GarageBand and didn't even set up the actual Skype thing. Anyway, what's up, guys? This is Courtney, one half of the Versus Deconstruction here. Today, me and John are talking about Venom. Um,
Venom.
you said you were gonna do it like last time.
Yeah.
Di-
Oh, Venom.
there
Venom.
we go.
Yeah.
Yeah, we already had one failure to launch on the recording. Thankfully, we didn't get too far into it. But yeah, this is gonna kind of be, whether this is a long or a short episode, don't really matter. I don't really care. Um, we're gonna be talking about our thoughts on Venom. I mean, we did a podcast episode not that long ago talking about Venom. And we were gonna come back and probably do a review episode for it. So this is it. So where you want to start?
Yeah. Well, we could just start with like your thoughts. I'd like to get your thoughts to get a kind of either agreeance or like, maybe there's some things we could disagree on.
Yeah.
Or do you want to get mine?
I'll just go ahead. I thought
Yeah.
I thought, like, I saw the early reactions on Twitter,
Mm-hmm.
and I watched Perry Nemiroff's review for Collider, and I think that was the only review that I watched or read
Mm-hmm.
outside of the early reactions. I think her review was the only one. Maybe I watched. I think I watched What Cultures as well, but the reviews are all over the place, this and that, whatever. And I didn't think. Now, I went into Venom thinking it was going to be terrible because honestly, nothing that they released for the movie looked good to me. Didn't like the CG on Venom in the previews. We'll get to more on that later. Didn't like kind of just the way that they were marketing it, especially with those stupid ass eyes that they went with, eyes and mouth that they tried to like the whole fucking, and the V, or not the eyes and mouth. I love the eyes and the mouth because at least that's more of a symbol. Like doing the whole little stupid ass V, and it's like, really, people don't know what the fuck this is. um, so I went into it thinking that it was going to be terrible, and I didn't think it was terrible.
Good.
I don't. Do I think it
That's
was
good.
now? Do I think it was a good movie? I wouldn't say
Yeah,
good.
exactly. I mean, the one thing that I could say about it's crazy, man. Like over this weekend, it's been a trip. So like I
Yeah.
do a side gig over at a movie theater in Dallas, the Alamo Draft House, and I work upstairs at a bar. So like people come, and they'll maybe get something to eat or have some drinks before their movie, or come like after, like because some big movie fans that want to come have some beers and talk about it or whatnot.
Right.
And every person that came back after Venom, they said it was good.
Yeah.
And they weren't like, that's the same thing that's kind of been going on is like this movie, like I did a Facebook live video the night that after I saw it. And I
Yeah.
was like, I was just talking about how, the early reviews that people are saying like, oh man, it's like Catwoman.
Yeah.
It's like Elektra.
Yeah.
Like, bro, it is not that bad.
It's not.
Like,
It's not.
it's not. Now, is it like Avengers Infinity War? Like, damn, that shit left me speechless?
Yeah.
Not
No.
at all.
No.
Not by a long shot.
Like,
But for the hate that it got, like, man, it's crazy.
yeah. I think this is another one of those situations where like the critics and the audience scores like there's a super big disconnect. But yeah, like, would I say it's a good movie? Nah, not really. But it's not terrible, and I was entertained in the movie. Real quick before we get to your thoughts about it, I'm gonna be doing a video review for the channel as well. And so you'll probably hear maybe the same thoughts, maybe some things are a little bit differently. I might present it differently, whatever. But the one thing that the reviews get right, or that the performance from Tom Hardy, like the relationship between Tom Hardy and Venom, really, really sell the movie. And it's
Yeah.
is probably the best. It is the best part of the movie. Like the back and forth
Yes.
between Venom and Eddie. Now, my problems with the movie, one, it starts slow, and I don't like the third act like fight between Riot and Venom. But before we actually get more onto that, this movie didn't know what it wanted to be. Venom is very much funny as hell, and it's it's not marketed funny at all. Like marketed that way at all. It's marketed like it's gonna be like a thriller slash horror movie, and it's like the stuff with Eddie and Venom is very very funny. Like Venom is very sassy and sarcastic and blunt. It's like, hey, I want to like, hey, we need to eat, or we need to do this, or we need to do that, or shut up, no, don't do that. Like the back and forth is hilarious, but they stuffed that buddy comedy in the middle of a weird kind of boring thriller, and the Life Foundation stuff just didn't really work for me. And Riz Ahmed's villain, I got his motivation, but it was very, he didn't act, for as good of an actor as Riz Ahmed is heralded to be, this wasn't like like it very, like I think Perry or somebody else said that he very much seemed to be in a completely different movie than Tom Hardy, and you can tell by the way that his performance is. Tom Hardy was like chewing scenery. He was over the top as hell when it came to like Eddie acting as if he has this other voice in his head. But Riz Ahmed's character kind of came off as bland, boring, real regular. So
Mm-hmm.
again, it just didn't know what it wanted to be, and they put like a very funny buddy. I don't want to say. I think I said buddy cop earlier, but like a buddy comedy film. They put a buddy film in the middle of a really, really slow, boring thriller movie, and it kind of it was kind of all over the place for me.
Yeah, I think that's well said. All over the place is definitely, is the right term, and I think it's because I think I'm not sure how long this movie has been in developmental hell. It has been in developmental hell for a really long time.
I can say
But I
off the
think
top of my head, and I'm eating, by the way, that I think that's become a running joke or something like that on the podcast. I'm always eating something and doing a terrible job of hiding it. So that's why I tell you guys. And my nose is running. But Venom has been in development since 2007. Just off the top of my head. Because after Spider-Man 3, they were talking about, hey, we're going to develop a Venom movie. And it was weird because it was like, but you guys killed Venom in Spider-Man 3. And also, that's when I went back and bought the Birth of Venom trade paperback and read it to actually write my own script for a Venom movie. I never did, but I love the fucking Birth. I love that fucking trade. And that just solidified even more so my fandom of Venom from the cartoon series when I was younger. But go on. So it's been in development for at least 10 years.
so. In 10 years, this you could probably sense that this film has gone each and every way. Like probably most assuredly, a lot of people thought like, well, man, this is going to go rated R because Venom is such a violent character and he has such a really gory and, very scary look,
Yeah.
And then you have, the Deadpool movies that come out, and the Deadpool movies like that basically open the doors for them to be like, oh, damn, comic book fans, they are embracing this rated R, character.
Yeah.
So, yes, now's the time to go ahead and push it. But then at the same time, I think that when they tried to, I think what they ended up going for was like in those last 2 years, because it's been 2 years since like Marvel Studios has been pushing out a lot of movies, that real humorish, that very funny, scenes and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That's been thrown a lot in the Marvel movies. So, Sony probably caught wind of that and be like, all right, man, we kind of need to switch it up a little bit and just
Yeah.
make this not funny. Maybe not make this a scary movie. But you know what? I'm actually cool with that, because Venom is just a cool to me. And like I said, this is just based on my perception, of Venom. Venom
Yeah.
means he's a different character to a lot of other people. He doesn't
Yeah.
necessarily mean one thing to anybody. I mean, for God's sakes, Venom was in the Spider-Man animated series, and he didn't kill nobody in there.
Yeah.
So why are you like sitting here saying like, oh man, it needs to be rated R? If it's not
Yeah.
rated R, fuck this film, like whatever. And it's just like, it didn't have to.
It's stupid.
It didn't have to be that way. Yeah, like if you're tripping because the movie wasn't rated R and like dude wasn't like legit mangling off arms and biting stuff,
Yeah.
like I don't know. Like
I get
to
what you
me,
mean.
yeah, so I think that was probably the thing with Sony working on the movie, just being like, hey, we need to get a little bit more humor in this. And to be honest, I agree with you fully. Like, like the relationship that Venom and Eddie had was pretty much was a good perspective.
Yeah.
It was good from a good perspective. And it's crazy because I was talking to some friends about it, and you could really compare Eddie and Venom's like relationship in his mind to Tony and Jarvis in the Iron Man films, or like Spider-Man and Karen, the
AI
artificial intelligence. Yeah. So I mean, it kind of like gave that response, that kind of tone was there. So I think that's why honestly people gravitated to it, especially like non-comic book reading fans that are just, a fan of these superhero movies. They probably saw the same thing and be like, oh yeah, they're just doing that. But I mean, copying a good idea, that's not bad.
Yeah.
Like
it was a good way to portray a type of inner monologue.
Yes, very much so.
But yeah, I think I don't necessarily think that it needed to be rated R, but there were some times during the movie, specifically with Riot, when he was like stabbing people and cutting people and shit like that. I was like, you're not about to tell me that you just stabbed this dude in the chest and pinned him bounced him off of the wall and there's no blood anywhere. Get the fuck out of here.
True. Yeah.
There were some points where I was like, nah, they could have went for like they could have either went for a little harder PG-13, or if they were going to go R, it didn't have to be a hard R. You can show some blood spilling. You can show him biting some heads and like maybe a little spatter. Like you don't have to go like super like crunching the skull and you seeing brain matter pop out. You ain't got to go super crazy. But I think there was some stuff left to be desired when it was like, yeah, he stabbed this dude in the chest out of his chair, bounced him off the wall, but nothing.
Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah, it's amazing how just a little bit of blood can actually go a long way. And like what just came into my mind now that you're talking about that is the Avengers and Phil Coulson's death.
Yeah.
So you didn't get like, blood protruding like everywhere, but like you at least saw, the stain of blood, and then he was even bleeding, in his mouth a little bit.
Yeah.
So you could get the idea that he was internally bleeding.
Yeah.
But yeah,
and even then they had to cut that scene back from getting an R because I think they had to shorten the blade poking out or something. Like it was something about like the actual seeing him actually get stabbed and the way that they shot it. Like the studio, the MPAA was like, nah, you guys got to chill on this, and they had to like make it shorter in order to like stop it from getting R rating or something like that. So it's just crazy, like what you can get away with and what you can't get away with. And we had moments in the movie where spoilers ahead, guys, if you didn't already fucking know, or you didn't get an idea. But when Riot kills Eddie and stabs him, impales him through the fucking chest, we immediately see like that giant blood stain on his clothes. But then I was like, okay, I'm all right with that. But I still feel like there should be like maybe a small gathering puddle of blood. Nothing super, super crazy just yet. Because, his clothes are going to soak up most of it. But they can only soak up so much before the shit just starts getting on the floor.
Sure.
But I think it's going back to what you said. Like I do think that they played it safe. Like it's been so long with them developing the movie. When the time finally came for them to pull the trigger, I think they did play it safe with a, hey, you
Yeah.
know what? We're gonna have this banter between Eddie, which is smart to do. Like if you're gonna present somebody that's hearing voices in their head, whether or not they're real or not. In this case, Eddie has a symbiote that's talking to him. And in another movie, it just might be somebody who's schizophrenic or something like that. But you can either play it up funny or you can play it up really disturbing and creepy. They chose to play this up funny because, again, they gave Venom personality. Um, but I personally wish that they had gone a little bit more horror route. Again, I love the relationship between Eddie and Venom, and that still would have worked in like a more thriller or a horror type of movie. But I think the marketing really misled everybody on the
Yeah.
movie. I wanted a better like horror thriller or psychological thriller at least built around the movie, because you can still have your funny moments when it comes to, oh hey, this is their conversation that they have back and forth, and this is how they're reacting. But at the same time, like the scene in the restaurant with Eddie going crazy, that was funny to me. But now that I think back on it, that probably shouldn't have been funny. That could have been played very serious, like, no, Eddie is legitimately going crazy. What the fuck is going on? But again, I think they kind of leaned into the whole, we're going to take the, I won't say that that's something that's intentional, that was unintentionally funny, because I think they purposely shot it and they purposely made it that way where it came off as like, oh, here goes Eddie acting out because this is Venom taking over, this and that. I think if they would have put it in a better psychological horror or psychological thriller movie with those kind of layers of comedy, I think that could have been played as much more of a kind of a surreal, scary, frightening type of moment, at least to me, because then you can still have that balance of, hey, it's funny when they're talking to each other, but we still don't, by that time in the restaurant, had we really seen like full Venom outside of like him almost eating the lead security guy's head? Like, we hadn't really seen him. So I think it still could have been played a little bit more scary, where it was like, no, Eddie is legitimately going crazy. Like, we don't know what's going on. Why is he acting out like this? Like, especially with all the information that we got. The symbiotes are killing the host. Like, is this Eddie like dying and just like spazzing out? Like, I just feel like there are too many directions that they could have took it, but they chose to play up the buddy aspect of it and just kind of tone down everything else, and it fell flat because of it.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree.
I think some of the action could have been better too. I like the sequence with the guards in the museum or wherever the fuck they were.
I wasn't really a fan of the final fight, to be honest.
I didn't like it either. Like I said
I think
earlier,
it
I didn't
was
like it either.
Yeah, to me, I mean, I just felt that had just way too much CGI.
Yeah.
It felt like a Michael Bay movie at that point, which I mean, I get, because it's going to be really hard to make a fight between two, full on CGI characters.
Yeah.
But there was just something there was something about the fight, like in general, like, man, I didn't really. It was just hard to keip up with, in my opinion.
You're right. Yeah, I agree, because I felt the same way. Watching it, I was just like, like you can tell what was going on with the action, but then you couldn't. Like, it was kind of weird. Like,
Yeah.
I like my action if it's practical or whatever. Maybe there might be some added CG for effects or something like that. But for the most part, I like my action scenes to be like a continuous shot. Like something like John Wick, like what there's a sequence of like straight up action, and if you are cutting, we can still tell what's going on. But the fight
Yes,
between
yeah,
Venom and Riot, it was unnaturally holding on a moment, and I think that was because they're CGI. It was like,
yeah,
okay, he's throwing him up against the grating and doing this and that, and I'm like, there's something weird about the fact that they're showing so much of this, but I understand that it has to kind of be static because these are two like mocap characters, or not even mocap, like CG characters.
yeah.
And speaking of the CG, I still didn't like the CG on Venom. He was too shiny. I get it. He's like a symbiote and he's like this weird alien parasite, whatever. But he was too shiny. Like, I think, especially with the fight with Riot, and again, this would have been hard to do because of the hulking size of these characters. But I think an actual suit with added CG for effects would have worked wonders when it came to shooting the action.
Yeah. To me, I thought that the money scene, as far as like action wise,
Mm-hmm.
was him against the SWAT.
Yeah.
That to me was the best scene because like that was stylized so good.
Yeah.
Like, and even then, like, they did like those scenes where like they did the pop smoke everywhere. So
Mm-hmm.
like you saw like the silhouette. You didn't really have to see him like, impaling people or like throwing. But I mean, he
Right.
took a dude and did like a Hulk to Loki, like
Yeah,
smashed him around with everybody
he
else.
definitely used one of the guards as a club and just beat everybody else with him.
Yeah.
Um,
But that was really cool. And
yeah,
then like the whole idea of him like leaping in places and stuff like that. I mean, I thought that as far as like the action scene, that was the definitive action scene
yeah, it
in
was.
my mind.
Yeah, it was. I agree. Um, yeah, I think that was the best action scene. I really liked the early encounter, not as much as the smoke filled museum fight. But I like the early encounter when he's just realizing when Venom like kind of takes over and tells him, you know what, I'm gonna just do this myself, and then just like
Yeah.
clears the room. I like that. I also like that chase sequence. Um,
I thought that was good.
I didn't
And
think
it's
it was
kind of
great,
crazy. Yeah, I
but
thought it was good.
I thought it was a good chase sequence. Um,
True.
and with the effects of Venom grabbing stuff and moving things out the way and doing all this. Like I think the best part of the chase sequence was when they turned the corner and basically any other if Eddie hadn't had Venom, he would have been like it would have been like the biker fell down on its side and he's basically skidding down the street for
Yeah.
125 feet. But no, he hit a hard turn, told him to hit a hard turn, grabbed onto a light pole, basically skidded around the corner, and then kept going. And I was like, that's a really cool way of doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Other
No, I
than
agree.
other than that, I just it's just kind of like it started out long. I liked the journalist side of Eddie, but
I did too.
it was boring. I don't know how they presented it, and it just turned out boring. Like
I
it,
think one of the things is like what was really hard like what's really hard to do is like to take a character's origin and to kind of make him a guy that you root for, because I mean Eddie was kind of like Eddie was kind of in the original comics, especially in like when he becomes Venom, in the church and everything like that.
mm-hmm,
I mean, he's really just like a hateful guy,
right.
and you kind of feel bad for him, but after that, it kind of turns into, I don't know, he just got rooted for. And I'm really still like even just wondering like how Venom got rooted for. I think it's just because, he looks so cool and it was just
Yeah,
a
probably.
newer villain, like so many people are just, they love to call things their own. So Venom being created like in the late 80s or early 90s, he was a new character that, people were just instantly latched on, like an instant classic kind of thing, because before then, um, everybody was just either on Doc Ock or Green Goblin,
Right.
you know, or the Lizard. You know, it wasn't, you know, Venom wasn't, you know, the top notch. But I think what they did do a good job for is like he meant well. You know, he just wanted to get to the bottom of things, especially, you know, and he wanted to get the story. But I did like the part where, like, out of nowhere, shit just started to not work for him.
Yeah.
Like, quick. Like, you know, he got fired, he gets dumped, and then it says, like, boom, 6 months later. But what I didn't like about it was, like, how he was, like, down on his luck, but not angry.
Yeah.
Because, like, that's what I wanted. Like, I wanted Eddie to be angry, you know, and just, like, vengeful. So, but you like, that was the weird thing is to me is like, they still tried to make him like a reluctant hero. So then, like, you know, he still tries to help people, even though he's down on his, you know, he's down on himself or something like that, which I was really hoping, like, I don't know. I didn't really have a lot of expectations for the film, but it was kind of crazy. Like, it goes back to what you're saying, like this movie just being all over the place, because I thought when, like, you know, when he got fired by the company he works for, and then after that he goes home and he gets dumped because, you know, and basically he blames, you know, Riot, you know, for ruining his career. I thought that he would just go, you know, straight just vengeful, you know, but, you know, him like having the drinks and be like, oh, I used to be Eddie Brock, and still just being like, man, I'm a loser, woe is me, you know. That was what I didn't like.
Yeah, no, I think I can see where you're coming from. I think for me, I like that. I think it was a little bit too predictable that we knew Eddie was going to go off script with the Drake interview. And I think it was a little bit too predictable, especially after he saw Anna's email. And he got all the information about, like, the people who died in the experiments, whatever. I think it was a little bit too predictable to see. Yeah, and I mean, they showed it in the fucking trailer, but still, it was like, he's gonna straight hijack this interview, and some people are gonna some bad stuff is gonna happen. I think it was a little bit too predictable, where it was like, yeah, Eddie's gonna fuck this up. And yeah, it doesn't surprise me that he gets fired. It doesn't surprise me that Anna dumps him. It doesn't surprise me that she kicks him fucking out. She kicks him out, and he has to go live in a fucking mediocre apartment with a loud ass Guitar Hero wannabe ass neighbor that lives across the fucking hall. But I think you're right. I think he should have been a little bit more. If he wasn't going to be angry, I think he should have been a little bit more depressed about losing everything. Especially for them to portray him as, like, just randomly going over to Anna's apartment. And it's like, oh, you're here. And it's like, I was just walking through the neighborhood. No, the fuck you weren't, Eddie. Shut the fuck up. Like, and then it's like, she asked him, why are you here? Because I miss you a lot. For him to have that type of response, he wasn't depressed enough for me.
Yeah. No, you're right.
He needed to be like, fuck, like having we see him take like one drink at the bar and he like walks home normal as hell, kind of funny or whatever like that, and then sees the fucking the convenience store getting robbed and shit like that. Like, no, I needed him to be like, they needed to show like something with him with like beer bottles piling up or fucking like hard liquor bottles like just covering the table or something like that. Like, he misses her that much to just randomly go over to her apartment and like in hopes of seeing her. Like, nah, bro, you need to show me that you a little bit more depressed.
Yeah, well, and one thing that I was expecting that was just like so weird is like, you know, again, like I miss that, like Venom is like created, but it's like Eddie's the other half that, like, you know, completes the rage, you know, and that's what the symbiote responds to is like, oh man, this guy's full of just pissy rage, and like just like he feels like he's been cheated, and all kinds of shit like that. So like I was expecting in some of those scenes, like, for him to try and get into a fight with the guy that was trying to hold up Miss Chen for security for money, but then, get his ass whooped. So then, like, the next time it happens, he's got the symbiote and he fucking kills a dude. Or,
I was hoping for this same thing though. Like I was fully expecting him to like throw a bag of fucking flour at the dude and try to take him on and like show that he's
get his ass whooped.
I wasn't even expecting him to get his ass whooped. I was expecting him like at least kind of fight the guy off enough to chase him off where he didn't get fucking shot.
Yeah.
But again, he tried to do
that.
But
then
with
the other thing.
What's his name? In the fucking forest. He tried to take his gun away and he got fucking pistol whipped.
Yep. And then there's the other thing, the whole Anna's new boyfriend, like you would have thought that Eddie would have been a dick to him. So it just seemed, those were just some things that just seemed a little irregular with me.
Yeah.
But it wasn't a deal breaker.
Yeah.
By any means. It just, you could kind of just tell, be like, man, they're really trying to get you to like Eddie. But
and they're playing it safe by doing so.
Yeah, exactly. So it was just because like, some people, they just think, some people, especially like people who say that they're fans, and I'm not saying you're a fan, or like whatever. I'm not gonna criticize anyone's fandom. Yeah. But when you're like, oh man, yeah, I love Venom, dude. He's one of my favorite Spider-Man villains. But you like don't know, you wouldn't know who Eddie, is.
Yeah.
Personally, so that was the thing, is it was an opportunity for them to kind of like give this guy a reluctant, like man, this dude just gets shit on repeatedly and repeatedly, so they make you want to, they try to make you root for him, but like coming from a comic books standpoint, like man, you didn't want to root for Eddie because he was always just getting in the way of Peter's, he was just getting with Peter's stuff. Yeah. It wasn't until Venom showed up that people were like, oh man, this dude looks awesome and we love this. And,
right.
It just seemed like a new challenge for Spider-Man, not having, the spider senses and in the black suit, because I know so many people were loving on the black suit to see that like evolve into Venom.
Yeah.
People loved that, or fans loved it. So I don't know, like that those were just some kind of scenes where I was like, that's not really, Eddie, but then at the same time, I know what they're trying to do. I get it. So continue, go ahead. I'll let you have it.
Yeah.
I'll let you get that one.
Yeah. I think I think for the angle that they were trying to play about Eddie being like if they were gonna do like the reluctant hero thing or the reluctant partner, I guess we can say. More so because obviously he didn't choose to fucking bond with Venom. I think if they were gonna do that, it was gonna be and like eventual like reluctant hero. I think they could have handled like some of the stuff with setting it up better, as far as like, hey, like yeah, it's good that he tries to break real stories on, or he tries to break stories on. When they showed like when they were showing like the not the loading scene, the fucking intro for his little show that he had, and he was talking about like the bodies that were found in the landfill and this and that, and even the conversation that he had with Anna, but we didn't get that until after the meeting, which the intro video was before. They told us early, they showed us early on that Eddie cares about like people.
Yeah.
And I think if they were going to play like the reluctant partner host, we're gonna do this, which makes sense if you have like this alien attached to you. Yeah, you're not gonna want to bend to its will. I don't know. I feel like they could have done something a little bit different to play that up a little bit more. I just can't put my finger on what. Yeah, it makes sense how they approached it, but then it could have been handled better.
Yeah, and a part of me, honestly, the only thing that I kind of chalk that up to right now in my mind is just this character is originally a villain, so you have like that's the thing.
Yeah,
it was just if it was missing anything. and I hate to say this, and I'll explain why I hate to say it. The one thing that it was probably missing was Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Like, and as far as like,
Have
just
somebody to play off of.
the representation, yeah, like that vice versa, the yin and the yang kind of vibe. So I think that's what it was missing. But I hate saying that because, and I know we may talk about this like, just in a little topic, but I think part of the basis and reasoning that people want this movie to fail, the ones who want it to fail, and the ones who are like, oh man, it was crap and blah, blah. I think a lot of people, most of that, and I'm not saying every, but most of it has to be comprised of people that are just like, we just want all of the Spider-Man characters back in back in Marvel Studios so we can do something with Marvel Studios. And it's be like, man, I get it. Don't get me wrong. Nothing would please me more than to see Tom Holland, with a Venom, and a new Doc Ock and a new, don't get me wrong. I'm way, way open to that. But it's going to, like, after seeing Venom and at least enjoying, the representation that Tom Hardy did, and then, of course, a little bit of the look, to me, I would feel a little cheated if we didn't get Tom, like, in the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Yeah. Yeah.
I really would.
No, I can see that. Look, when they first cast Tom Hardy in the role, I was like, okay, I don't see how you're gonna make a Venom movie without Spider-Man, which is, like you said, probably why there's a lot of problems that at least we have with the film, because it might just be missing the Spider-Man factor and somebody to kind of play off of. And I mean, they already hinted at him fucking getting chased out of New York. So, that could be the angle. But yeah, like, I'm all for adding great actors to the MCU. So, and now that we know the type of portrayal that Hardy is giving for Venom, yeah, I would like to see that and see that interaction with Tom, because it can easily be like a they're going back and forth. Peter is going back and forth with Eddie or something like that, and Venom is chiming in, and Eddie is like going back and forth with Venom, and then Peter jumps in and is like, "Who are you talking to?" And it's like, "What? You never have inner monologues with yourself? Shut up, kid."
Yeah, exactly. Like you're already spitballing things like here, and I mean, right now in my mind, I'm trying to spitball. Well, how would they make these two? How did they bring this already set up Venom, into the Marvel Cinematic Universe?
Yeah.
And I mean, really, it wouldn't be that bad. Like, to me, it would be a new spin if, let's say, for example, Eddie returns to New York, and then a piece of the symbiote, gets on to Peter.
Yeah.
And then you get the black suit, And I mean, this is the thing that it just kind of sucks, because you're going to have fans that are like, oh, well, that's not the way it was in the books.
Right.
And it's like, well, bruh, if we're going by the way things were in the books, Tony Stark wouldn't have even been in Homecoming.
Right.
So go ahead and chill with that.
Yeah.
Because Marvel Studios has actually been praised, and that's what's kind of like, I guess, like, that's the thing, is I see it from all levels, but it's like, how are you going to praise Marvel Studios for taking a new direction or a different, a different version, but loosely based it on something? But then when Venom does it, people are going to be like, oh man, it's not good. Like, that's just, you're just being biased, and you're just being butthurt and biased, because I'm already thinking right now in my mind, like,
I think a lot of that also has to go with Sony's reputation as well. They don't have a good reputation of giving people reasons to believe in them. So I think some of that comes from that as well.
Sure, but you know what? At the same time, Sony and Fox, I know that we're kind of going off subject here, just talking about Venom, but I mean, Sony and Fox, they are the reason that Marvel Studios is around now, because
you're absolutely right.
Before Marvel Studios even here, like, Spider-Man 1 was a critical and commercial success. Like, that was a good movie. And this Spider-Man 2 came out, and Spider-Man 2 still, between, like, superhero movies, that's one of the best superhero movies out there.
Yeah.
Like, top 10 bar none. Like no arguments.
Yeah.
So and then X-Men, X-Men did do a good job, even though they didn't give the classic costume. I mean, story-wise, X-Men 2, X-Men United, that's a pretty good story. It's not, it could be better, of course, but
I have
you
my
could have
own
added
opinions
more of
on
the
the Foxman movies.
Fantasticals. But I mean, they're never gonna, like, the Foxman movies. They're always gonna get criticized because they didn't give us, the costumes, and then they have a more mature tone and stuff like that. But I mean, there's some things in there that they've given us some good stuff.
Yeah,
they've given us some good stuff.
For me, at least, costumes are the last on my list of problems with the X-Men movies.
Yeah, and they changed the mythology up as well. But I guess what I'm saying is, like, you can be open to, let's say Eddie returning back to New York, but he has the Venom already. Yeah. And then let's say, for example, a piece of that, spitball in here, a piece of the symbiote gets to Spider-Man, and they're like, whoa, and when I say they, I'm talking about, like, the symbiote is like, oh shit, this dude's got superpowers.
Right.
Like, we could be something more with this kid with superpowers. So then it leaves Eddie, and then in turn, Eddie gets upset because the suit has gone to Spider-Man. So now you have a villain where you had a hero before.
Yeah.
So I mean, and boom, there you go. Like, right there, there's your spitballed story. Add a script and you're good.
Yeah.
And then you got two great actors that, they look the part. They're going to act the part. They're probably going to have a good time. So you're going to see that chemistry there. So why not? But anyways, and we're digressing. So
no, I mean, I think overall, again, basically the fact that we have to spitball to figure out where they could go, or even the fact that we just have to spitball and kind of go back and rewrite stuff in the movie just goes to show, this could have been better. This could have been really, really good.
True. Yeah, of course.
Not saying that it's bad or terrible or anything like that. It's an okay movie. It's entertaining, but if you're a regular moviegoer, like, you're probably gonna think that the tone is all over the place, because it is. It seems like a thriller. It seems like a rom-com at some points, and then it seems like a fucking buddy comedy. Like, I wish it would have picked, like, maybe one genre with sprinkles of a subgenre in it and stuck with that. Like, I really wish that it would have been, like, more of a psychological thriller, but with comedy elements. But you play up certain factors a little bit more disturbing than others. Like, when Venom is, like, out fighting the guards and attacking people, yeah, that's awesome. The banter back and forth. But, when Eddie is still trying to figure out what the hell's going on with himself, that could have been played up real easy as something very scary and disturbing. And, hey, what's going on with this dude? Like, he's really having trouble with this. Like, why is it making him act like this? But, him jumping into the crawling into the lobster tank after eating one, it was hilarious. I would have liked to have gotten, like, an uneasy feeling about that, though, because it's like, no, something's really, really wrong. Even when he just starts eating food at his apartment and he goes in the garbage and eats who knows how old that fucking chicken was, and he just immediately throws it up. That could have been played as like oh yeah, this is funny. Wait, why? Whoa. Okay, this just went left really quickly. So that's just me, though.
Yeah.
But another thing I want to fucking talk about is they are bogus as hell for putting my boy Woody Harrelson in that fucking wig from Annie. That is the fucking wig from Annie. That's immediately what I thought when I saw that. You telling me that you couldn't get a regular fucking short hair wig for him? That wig literally looks like they went to the fucking whoever originally made that fucking movie. They literally went into the fucking vault, grabbed the Annie wig, and threw it on fucking Woody Harrelson. Like, no, this is unacceptable. Unacceptable.
I gotta say, I didn't enjoy that wig, but dude, even with the wig, like just based on visuals alone, Woody Harrelson was born to play Carnage. Like
Look.
he,
When he first got cast, and everybody, I think even with his casting, I think either it leaked that he was supposed to be playing Carnage, or everybody just assumed. No, I think it was like Woody Harrelson casting Venom. He could be the villain or something like that, and people were like, "Oh, he's playing Carnage." As soon as it like his name was attached to Carnage, I was like, Woody Harrelson is gonna be a great fucking Carnage. I knew that right off the bat.
yeah,
I'm not like a super big Woody Harrelson fan, but I know his competency and his track record as an actor.
yeah,
And this is another one of those, almost another one of those roles where, he kind of has inspiration to pull from. Woody Harrelson's dad was a fucking hitman.
yep,
Like, that, I don't, like, yeah. You're playing the serial killer. Your dad was one. Although I don't think I think he did an interview like way back when about that, and I don't think he knew his dad very well or something like that. Maybe then, whatever the case may be, Woody Harrelson is a very fucking competent actor. As soon as I heard that his name was attached to this movie, and he was probably going to be playing Cletus Cassidy, I was like, yeah, that's it. Like I can't see anybody else in the role. Like this is even before it was confirmed. This is even before we got a look. This was even before anything. I'm just thinking of Woody Harrelson as Woody Harrelson playing Cletus Cassidy. I was like, that works. That works.
yeah. It did. I mean, even with the shoddy wig, I mean, like, I don't know, like him, and that's the thing is like, this is why it's just crazy, dude. Like, I know people have been trying to hate on that too, but I'm like, yo, they gave you a scene like straight from the panels
Yeah.
when Cletus Cassidy behind bars, getting interviewed by Eddie. Like, you couldn't. What more are you looking for? And like, and don't get me wrong, like I didn't. It wasn't one of those teasers or like post credits that like damn that got me like mad hype for the second one.
Right.
But it's just like it let me know like okay the potential is there. Like if they do go for that, like that's gonna be pretty hot, man.
Yeah.
Like and like I said the wig was shoddy. But like that scene was straight pulled from the comics, from the panels, and like and nobody can say otherwise. But people are again they're still gonna probably hate on it, which it's cool, it's not a big deal.
Yeah.
But
I think again I'm very much again I've said this before. I'm very much a believer of don't trust anybody's opinions but your own.
Yes. Yeah.
So if you're like, I only let opinions sway me if I'm on the fence about something. I knew when they announced the fucking film, even when fucking plot details started coming out, even when it was like, oh, Riz Ahmed is cast in the movie, he's the villain. Oh, is he Carnage? No, he was a Carnage like fucking symbiote though, because they sure enough turned Riot into Carnage. As soon as I saw fucking Spike. And as soon as I saw fucking Axis, I was like, that's bullshit. Like, this is Carnage. This is fucking Carnage. Sorry. But as soon as they started fucking announcing shit, I was like, man, this movie is unnecessary as fuck if it's not going to have Spider-Man in it, which I still believe. Like, I think it could have been missing a Spider-Man angle in there some type of way. But if you're going to try to... And there is a way to give Venom his own movie. Way back when I had like a Spider-Man trilogy laid out that included a Venom movie. The Venom movie was basically going to be in between uh, him getting and losing the symbiote, and his movie was going to be like basically the travel from, let's say, San Francisco back to New York, in search of fucking Spider-Man again with the after he gets the symbiote back, and then have the third Spider-Man film basically be Venom as the main villain of the movie. After kind of being like a side character, side villain that he has to fight and he deals with. It's like, no, let's go ahead and like have him beaten. He gets the symbiote removed, and then boom, he gets shipped out and separated from the symbiote. And you can send him as far as San Francisco. You can send him as far as fucking Tennessee or Memphis, and he can just get rebonded to the symbiote, works his way back, and it's basically like the Birth of Venom trade. Like, he goes into a diner, it gets fucking mugged. He doesn't want to get involved, but it's like, well, he's one of the people in the diner, technically getting mugged. We don't want to hurt people, but this stops us from getting back to Parker and Spider-Man, so we need to take care of this.
Yeah.
And that was one of the reasons why I loved, like, that book made me love Venom, because that showed, to me, that shows that sacrifice and passion right there. Like, to have, and again, he had unbridled rage for Spider-Man, but if you can have such tunnel vision that it's like, no, any obstacle in the way needs to get dealt with if it stops us from getting to the end goal. Do we want to go around killing people? No. But guess what? These people are currently pointing a gun in our face. We need to take care of this, because if we don't make it out of here, we can't get back to Parker. So it kind of turned him into an anti-hero and a very reluctant hero in the book, in the issues that happened in. I think that was maybe Lethal Protector was his own run. That may the Birth of Venom trade may or may not include Lethal Protector. I'm not sure. I don't think it does. I just remember the fucking jacket outfit with the Venom logo on it.
Yeah. I was gonna say another thing that is just, people would not understand, and it's mind-boggling to me. Is like, that movie was very much, I mean, even though loosely based, that movie was pretty much based on Lethal Protector.
Yeah.
Like, pretty much like down to a T.
Yeah.
Like, the only thing, I mean, to be honest, the only thing that you were probably missing was Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Because, like, Spider-Man basically sees that, Venom was apparently framed for, killing some people in San Francisco. So he goes to San Francisco from New York, and then he's like, fool, it's not me, so then they, end up working together. But no, but I mean, that was very, very much loosely, that was tightly loosely based on Lethal Protector. I mean, him being in California or him being in San Francisco, I mean, it made perfect sense.
Yeah.
Like, so I mean, I didn't think it would be that much tied on to Lethal Protector, but it pretty much was, man. Like, it was. So that's what, not gonna say and be like, oh man, it's not how it was in the books. And it's like, at this point, you're like, bro, if they did some shit that was like identical to the books, people still wouldn't like it, because they'd be talking about it like it would be Watchmen. Like, it followed panel for panel, even the script, but that don't mean it was a good movie.
Right.
I mean, like, so I mean, you just can't win sometimes with some fanboys, man. But I mean, that's like that's the beautiful thing, and then that's the sucky thing, So it's just, as long as I liked it, and like you were just saying earlier about people's own opinions, can't go wrong there.
Yeah. Like for me, if I'm on a fence, then I'll let like reviews kind of sway me one way or the other. But for the most part, I try to go see a movie. But with this one, it was like, look, as soon as they announced it, yeah, don't none of this shit make sense to me. But yeah, I'm gonna go see it with my dumb ass. But
Mm-hmm.
it wasn't, again, just reiterating the thoughts before we like wrap up, and then it's not a terrible movie. It's definitely not as bad as Catwoman. It's not as bad as fucking
Yes.
Elektra. Like, comparing it to some of the worst comic book movies of all time, it's unfair.
Yeah.
Is it a tonal mess? Yeah, but it's still entertaining enough where the comedy between Venom and Eddie make up for some of the tonal uh what word do I want to use to make up for some of the tonal mistakes and the tonal whiplash that happens during the movies.
Mm-hmm.
So the comedy it really does make up for some of that. So I think it'll be entertaining enough to most people where it'll be like, yeah, it was entertaining. I can see the comedy is good enough to make people, if you just ask like some regular person have they seen Venom and you ask them what they thought, it's enough to make them say, yeah, it was a good movie.
Yeah. Yeah. And I've got people that are, like I met people this weekend that they haven't even read a damn comic book, and they were just like, that was a good movie, dude. Like, legit.
Yeah,
They were like, it wasn't something amazing. It wasn't something like, oh my god, man, what did I just see? You've got to tell
right.
me about this. Like, it wasn't something. But they were like, man, that was not what people were saying. Like, it wasn't the worst. There's been far worse superhero movies. Far,
Yeah,
far worse. There's been like Jonah Hex, and there's been you know,
still.
Catwoman. We keep on bringing it up. Still, yeah, there has been some worse superhero movies. That was definitely not one of the worst ones. Was it? So that's the thing is, I
It's kind
think,
of like middle of the road, at least to me. It's kind of like one of
yeah,
the middle of the road ones.
yeah. But the good thing that I think is, like, this has one potential for, a sequel, which sequels always, they're like, okay, what did people not like from the first one that we can do in this one? So
Right.
I think collectively, and this is the crazy thing is, like, I'm starting to see it online just from fan reactions. Collectively, they liked the movie, but then, like I said, it's like they're being vocal about what they didn't like.
Mm-hmm.
So that gives a good opportunity for the studio to be like, all right, cool. You don't like this? Well, then we won't give you that. But, I know we're going to see Carnage. So,
Yeah.
and, what people are clamoring for is they want, Tom Holland, or they want these characters to work again. So, you can never say never with this stuff. I
Right.
mean, here we are in 2018, and Spider-Man's a part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. 2014, that's just 4 years ago, Amazing Spider-Man 2 was being released.
Right.
So you never know if, like I said, Kevin Feige may be looking at all this like, oh man, they actually did like it. So why don't we, get with, Sony Studios and be like, hey, look, people liked your Venom, but y'all can tell, and y'all are listening, that they want him in here with us.
Right.
Let's do another Sony Marvel team up, and let's get these guys going.
Right.
Like, there's money to be made by both companies. We don't have to just be like, yeah, man, you got to make your own money, or we got to make our own. Potential is there. So anything can happen at this point, especially now that it's, since Venom was like, actually, you could say it was well received from fans.
Yeah.
From the average moviegoer.
Yeah.
People are not
The
like,
audience,
oh man, that was disgusting.
Yeah, the audience. It's safe to say the audience likes Venom.
Yes, yeah, it really is. Yeah, like, and like, that's the thing is, like, this. I don't think the movie was never meant to be like that. Tour de force, or like something to leave people, going crazy and wanting more. I mean,
Yeah.
it does. People want to see a sequel, but I'm talking about like some Avengers shit where people are just like, man, that was just mind blowing.
Yeah, nah. I think
Mind blowing. Well,
I do think if they, because I mean, hell, it shot way past opening expectations, because I think it was expected to open at like 50 or 60. I think it opened to 80 or something like that.
Yeah, it's at 80. Yeah.
So I think that's what it's gonna be, 80, maybe 90 after the weekend is over. But it has me wondering and interested to see what they could do for the sequel if we just assume that they're gonna make Carnage the villain, because then they have to. I think if they make Carnage the villain, they have to approach the movie differently. They can't. I don't think they can do a PG-13 Venom sequel with Carnage in it, and if they do, it's gonna be really, really watered down. And it's probably, I mean, Woody Harrelson again. He can be funny. He has been funny in the roles before. I think if they do make a PG-13 sequel with Carnage as the main villain, they're going to tone down a lot of Carnage's hard R stuff, but they might keep the tone in line with Cletus Cassidy's craziness, because Cletus Cassidy is always off the fuck, like even in the animated series, like Cletus Cassidy was fucking zany as fuck. He was almost like a Jim Carrey fucking parody, at least, you know, watching the series now, going back and watching it now, that's what it seemed like.
And honestly, I think it's kind of crazy, like, you know, that it's weird to say like everything is going to work out like in a different, like, work ends or everything happens for a reason, because it would be looking at the bigger picture of things. Like for the Venom movie, it wasn't as gory and violent because that next one is going to be a character who's like legit evil based on hatred and just insanity and just a complete psycho. So I think them holding that on reserve and letting that be for Carnage is going to be one of the reasons, you know, we didn't get all that like gory violence in this one, because we have to, you know, it has to be set up, you know, because they're probably just looking at the larger picture, like, you know, they're looking at the next end game. Because I mean, I really didn't care for Riot as a villain. I was really there just to see the origin of Venom and see how that was going to play out, and that I did enjoy. That I guess that's the thing, is the villain was really just passable to me. It was like, to be honest, just looking at it right now, the villain is so average. Like there's so many villains like that. Oh, I'm the head of a major company and I want to find this because I want to get on this genius level or shit like that. Like that was the villain in the first Ant-Man. That was the villain in the first Iron Man. You know, that was the villain in Captain America. You know, someone who just wants to attain something for their own betterment. Like that's just average villain. There was nothing that, you know, that was like, man, that is just your average damn villain. You know, but people were there more for the origin of, you know, Venom and to see how Hardy was going to do as Eddie Brock, which, I mean, I think he did a good job. To me, there was some times where he went a little bit over the top.
Yeah,
but
definitely.
Then you have to take yourself out of it sometimes, and it's like, all right, it's a superhero movie. Okay, you know.
He's having fun. You can tell he's having fun.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
I get what you mean. But going back a little bit, talking about sequels really, really quickly. I mean, it's reported that he signed on for what, like 2 or 3 more movies. So it could be that they're doing like a Venom sequel, and then they might be throwing him into the MCU. Who knows?
I mean, hey,
because you're about to do a Venom trilogy. Who knows?
Yeah, you're about to lose a nice little chunk of some solid actors next year.
Mm-hmm.
So you may want to just, you know, that's the thing, is if Marvel Studios was smart, instead of just like continuing to ignore like, oh, that's not our universe, it's not our universe, it's not our universe, you know, because that still hasn't happened.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like I get the shared universe, but that still hasn't happened of, you know, one studio's franchise merging with another studio's franchise. Like that's originally what people wanted, even like before Iron Man even hit. They were like, oh man, what if Spider-Man from Sony Studios met up with the Fox Studios X-Men? What would that be like? So they have an opportunity, you know, to get that, you know, with Sony being like, you know, already working with them with Homecoming is to be like, well, look, they really did enjoy Tom Hardy Venom. So why don't we just bring him over here? Like that's just making a fan's, wish come true. It's like, oh man, we saw him in a totally different universe, but now he's coming over here. I mean, and just to throw the spoilers out there, with the Spider-Man universe, the whole talk of the Spider-Man universe, the Sony universe, they're going to make another Spider-Man universe, basically letting everybody know there are multiple Spider-Man universes.
Yeah,
so
that's true.
You could do something, like something different with that.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And
the potential's there.
And apparently, the Peter Parker in Enter the Spider-Verse is Sam Raimi's Peter Parker. I saw that in the article headline somewhere, and I was like, huh, okay.
I just saw it from the damn trailer. I mean, I was like, okay, well, he kissed Mary Jane upside down in the rain. He was holding on to a train, being stopped. I'm like, this is pretty much, I guess this you could still call that the Sony Spider-Man or whichever.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's kind of being known, like just from that last trailer, Spider-Man knows he's a big deal.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like talking about like.
No, you're right. But yeah, I mean, those are all my thoughts on Venom. I also love that once Michelle Williams got cast as Anna, Eddie's girlfriend, and she was known for playing like She-Venom in the comics. I love that they dropped that cameo in there when they had
that was cool.
She-Venom fucking make out with Eddie. Cause soon as she saw
and
that
it looked
dog,
cool.
Yeah, it did. As soon as she saw that dog, I was like, are they gonna give her the symbiote, or is she gonna take the dog to wherever fucking Eddie is? And then sure enough, she come in fucking snatching motherfuckers up, and it's like, oh, okay, she's doing this, all right. And then I was like, huh.
But it was even cooler, like when she's like dealing with Eddie, or like the scenes that she's with Eddie, the symbiote's talking. He's like, "Ooh, we like her,"
right?
Like that. That's kind of cool to me, And like just even the whole ending, they're like, "No, don't tell her," or like, "Well, we want to keep her around," or something like that. Like that. Those were just
hopefully
cool,
they give her better,
like a small chuckle.
Yeah, hopefully they give her better things to do, because they literally use Michelle Williams as a vehicle to move the plot forward in this movie. But yeah, so I thought the movie was entertaining. It's not as bad as people making it out to be. I say if you were to go see it, you'd probably enjoy it, but you'd probably also recognize that it's kind of like weirdly, the tone is weird. But yeah, I say go check it out.
It's one of those weird movies, and this is crazy because like I don't think that this has really ever happened for a superhero movie where like the week before when the embargo lifted and you had Rotten Tomatoes and all these critics like trashing it, like you come back and the fans are all like, nah man, this was actually really good. I don't know what the critics talk about. This has never happened before, because usually when you have a critical failure, the public goes in and they're like, yeah, that movie sucked, or when it's, when the critics come in, they're like, oh man, that was awesome. The fans come behind and be like, yeah, that was really awesome. So this is like really just, this is not normal to happen for a movie. I mean, it's not normal for a villain to get a movie without his hero in it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that also raises potential about other things that are going to be done. Cause I know Sony's also got the plans with Craven and the Sinister Six or whatever.
And Morbius. Like, look, the only thing
The
only thing I hate about this is that this is gonna give Sony enough courage to fucking start throwing out these other fucking non-Spider-Man centric Spider-Man movies, and I'm like, guys, please don't. Nobody wants a Morbius movie. I'm sorry. I don't even want a fucking Craven movie.
If you're gonna give us a Morbius movie, like, and you're not gonna put Spider-Man in it, then fuck, at least put Blade in it.
Yeah.
Like, do something, but don't sit there and just like, man, what is Morbius gonna do?
Exactly. But that's an entirely different conversation for another fucking day. We can go on and on about that. But yeah, those are our thoughts, guys, on Venom. We both say, hey, go check it out. You'll probably like it, more than likely. But there are some tonal inconsistencies about it. So, yeah, that's all from me.
Yeah, I pretty much said my piece on it.
All right.
Hopefully everyone will enjoy it, and hopefully everyone will listen to the podcast and go form their own opinion.
All righty. All right, guys. Peace out. Take it easy. Check out everything else.
Peace.